Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're going to be taking a look at ATEEZ's youth official music video making film. And I've already seen all of the music videos in this whole little comeback at this point. And so I'm excited to take a look at this because we end up learning a lot more about them as humans and the kind of the relationship they have with the people that are affiliated, especially the dancers with the performers. So I think it's kind of cool. And at this point in time, I'm pretty familiar with the lore to a certain extent. I feel like I learn something new every time I cover one of their music videos through comments and discussions with you guys, which I'm always so gracious to learning more through, as well as my own little research that I do for myself to understand the different worlds and which world we are in. I do believe this is world A that we are in for ATEEZ, and I have already seen the diary, like whole Netflix 16-minute acting thing. So I'm pretty familiar, more so now with the imagery than I was when I did the initial reaction. But we're gonna go ahead and take a watch. So if you notice, his scar is very similar to the type of scar he had, Mingi, in the diary film whenever he was beat up by Jungho. So I've learned that. See? And then the imagery of the guitar, I still think the guitar was worth more than the car he beat it up with, but
여기서 이번 씬 촬영 종료. 내려가셔서 바로 다음 씬 준비해 주시면 되고요. 너무 좋아하는 거 아니에요? 윤호 씨의 솔로 씬
they all get really happy when they're like, oh, I'm done, I get to go home. I get it, I vibe with it. Stasi Hawaii. I'm still impressed with the architecture sometimes where you can have stairs that don't look supported.
저희의 유니콘 뮤직비디오 촬영지에 왔습니다. 네, 여기가 첫 번째 스팟인데요. 여기서 아까 민기랑 유닛 이미지 컷이랑 그리고 제 솔로 이미지 컷이랑 찍었는데 생각보다 엄청 자연광에 스팟이 너무 예뻐가지고 예쁘게 잘 나온 것 같고요. 첫 시작이 좀 좋은 것 같아요.
We love us some good natural lighting. It makes editing way easier when you have good lighting.
난간이 그래도 있었는데 제가 엄청 높아가지고 이제 그나마 저라서 할 수 있었던 촬영이 아니었나. 제가 그나마 공포증이 좀 없거든요. 근데도 날씨도 추운데 다리가 안 움직이더라고요. 아무튼 예쁘게 나온 것 같아서 기분이 좋네요. 이따가 다음 촬영지에서 또 뵙도록 하겠습니다.
I like the communication for that. This emotion slot is working its magic. Ending with endless compliments. It's always good when you have people support what you do, like, because you don't know if what you're doing is good, and a lot of times you have to think, what's the word? This actually reminds me of something. So like, in those compliments, it actually reminds me of the making video for San, Yeosang, and Wooyoung, and how San was receiving many compliments from those around him in the space, from performers and from director and everybody. And it got me thinking that, and because I've noticed it within my own, like, for me doing videos, because for me, there are days, sometimes, like, being very real, because I am very human, some days I can have more of a critical lens that I think could be appropriate depending on what I'm watching. And then other days I may be a little bit too, not gracious, but I would say sometimes I could also be glazing over things that could potentially, by pointing them out, could be helpful for others, especially for those who learn choreographies and want to understand why it may feel a certain way or why the formation may give the appearance of why it looks and things like that. And I realized that for me as much human as I am, a lot of times whenever, like, if I'm in this position or they're in their position of being idols, we're all in the same boat, if you think about it, of subconsciously seeking validation. I mean, we feel this anyway, but especially in the entertainment industry, regardless of how large or how small in scope you have, it feels very much like we're kind of waiting for validation that what we're doing is good for us to see it as good ourselves. And I very much realized this very recently. I think it was like being very real. There's, sometimes I get comments on my videos, and it depends on the video too, because sometimes I do know when you watch my videos of a particular, let's say, like if you watch Street Woman Fighter, if you watch my take on it, but you watch it out of order, some of the videos I can come across more critical than in other videos, but a lot of it stems from I'm basing a lot of my perspective off of what I've already seen, and as much empathetic perspective as I can bring. Not many people experience a show format like SWF, so only people that are in the Street Fighter series could truly empathize, hence why I'm thankful they have those reaction channels for that. But I have people who comment sometimes and they're like, what right do you have to critique them? I don't see you on the show. And I'm like, you're not wrong. Like, I'm not on the show. That's true. But also, I mean, I want to be helpful for people in order for, if they wanted to understand why their favorite got eliminated, I want to be able to provide some peace for that, or to help them understand some, like, other factors outside of just what's being appeared before us. Because for me, I've lived life enough to know that a lot of things, especially when you see in a video, are not as they appear always, and so I try to come at them with that lens. But it all ties back to, as a human, and I know they're humans too, for him to receive, compliments for that. I do know for him, for this song in particular, I do understand this was during the time he was at a hiatus where, due to anxiety and mental stress, and that is something that I like, my heart breaks for that, honestly, because for an individual like Mingi to be able to, to be in a position to be a celebrity, right? A lot of times people look at celebrities or look at individuals who are in a position, maybe not of power, but of influence, and assume that they're okay because they have what people who watch these videos want or think that they want. And for me, even though, I'm in a position where I know some people view me in that way, not necessarily in this scope, but sometimes depending on what kind of job I'm doing, it can come across that way. It can be very difficult sometimes to feel like you have a right to not be okay because people expect you to be okay. It goes back to that validation thing that I was mentioning, right? So I feel like for him, he probably has more sensitivity to it, especially in more recent years, because he even needed to take a hiatus just for this year. Need to have to navigate through that. And I'm so thankful, side note, that he wasn't alone and that he's not alone shooting this. He wrote this, and then having Yoonho's bridge added in, it just shows the importance of community in your life. Just like for me, I think it's important to have community and have people that support me and help me navigate through whenever I'm wrong and whenever I fall short and whenever I experience even half of what he goes through. I don't even think I do, it doesn't negate my own feelings, but I think all of that to say, like, I really feel that a lot of people don't realize that these guys are humans, and I think that's my favorite part about the making films, is that you get to really see them as humans and see them react to human things in a human way, because they are. And it actually is self-reflective in my own life in this way of, it makes me think, wow, am I, there's a good chance that I probably feel that way too whenever I get people who say, thank you, Jessica, for teaching me something new, or, and even when I receive criticism too, I don't receive criticism nearly as much as a lot of these celebrities do. But it doesn't, pain doesn't go away, when when people say things to me, and I know it feels like a bit of a tangent, and I apologize for that, but I think that with Mingi especially, it really just prompts a lot of internal thoughts that I think are appropriate to explore together and especially discuss. And I love having the discussions in the comments. Whenever I do get comments, like for myself, that are opposed my view, but a lot of times it doesn't come across in a way that is gracious to me. It can feel like, for me, I'm like, do I deserve people to be gracious to me when I didn't come across gracious in the video? Or I'm assuming that I didn't, or maybe I was, but it wasn't gracious enough. Like, it makes me self-reflect, sometimes in a good way and sometimes in a self-deprecating way. And that's something that I have to navigate for myself. Just like with Mingi, he needed to figure out how to navigate what it feels like to feel real feelings, but be able to not live life alone through those things. And I'm very thankful that so far it does feel like he's able to do that. In the fan base, ATEEZ, you guys are able to provide that space for him too, and be protective in that way. And I'm very thankful that he's in a position where he gets to experience that in a safer scope, just like they're able to explore the lore. You know, I believe, wasn't it Woyang who he has stage fright, or he did, and I know Mingi still struggles with that. And a lot of people can kind of downplay those things because they go on stage, but those are very real things, because one of the most vulnerable things you can do is be on a stage with lights flashing directly on you and people staring at you. That's not that's not for the faint of heart, to say the least, regardless if you're a dancer, a singer, a performer, or you're the only person on stage, you know? So all of that to say, that's something I've noticed in these particular videos is for them, they're still in a place where, like, they do hold a level of sensitivity to receiving a sense of validation of what they're doing is good. And would it be a good goal for all of us as humans to be able to see things as good regardless if we receive validation for it? Of course, but the encouragement really helps regardless of your position, you know? And so I think that's like a really interesting note to kind of explore. So I apologize for my tangent, but it's just something that happened recently for me that I'm kind of seeing that I'm in my own life for myself, that I noticed here. So, but I really like the fact that he's not doing this alone, but he has Yoonho. This is great. I'm glad. I really like the vibe of the song.
제가 이제 청춘들을 대변해서 사연을 많이 살아오신 분들한테 왜 이렇게 청춘이 힘든 걸까요? 라는 물음을 계속 답을 구하기 위해서 조언하는 장면에서 교차돼서 뭔가 상반되는 것들로 인해서 뭔가 비교가 되고 고조가 되는 촬영씬을 찍고 있는 것 같은데요. 한편에서는 되게 캄하게 찍고 있고 한편에서는 되게 과한 액션을 통해서 연출하는 것가 되게 신기하기도 하고, 또 마지막 촬영이라서 한번 더 열심히 한번 해보겠습니다.
Fighting. It's a very interesting imagery, because that is really what it can feel like in your head. And I know that that's a very, yeah. Oh, they must be cold. How does he come out of it? Is he good? I wonder if he feels awkward. When you do something so violent, people cheer for you. You're like, is it okay? That was that violent? Oh, I've been curious about this. Okay, before I continue with this, you remember what I said? If you had seen my analysis, I'll attach it in the description. Hopefully I'll remember. But I talked specifically about his dance within the solo section of the bridge, and how it really, honestly, like for me, because I'm very sensitive to music, and a lot of my outside training and research outside of just being a dance teacher, and that in that realm has been with music cognition and music psychology, and so just dibble dabbling, taking courses and things, but all that to say, a lot of his movement that he was doing in the bridge did feel a little bit loud in comparison to the intimacy of the bridge. So I'm very curious as to what we're about to see. I'm actually very excited about this.
에이틴이랑 이제 또 많은 분들께 좀 진짜 동물을 보여주고
Check out my solo dance. I'm happy and excited.
너무 기쁘고
So I wonder if he... I wonder if he improv'd it. Ah, so you notice he's accenting. His body is going off of the tonal color more so than his tone. So for me, remember, I was talking more about the intimacy of the falsetto or the tone, but for him, you can tell that he's going off the syncopation of the tonal colors of the percussion that was built in the bridge. That makes way more sense as to how he was building his energy. Maybe because he started so full at the beginning of the bridge, it was harder for me to translate that while I was watching. But I'm actually very happy to have watched this because it brought more clarity to me on what we were listening for. Really fun. And it's cold. Yeah, that little... He's like, ah?
또 이제 민기랑 단체 공모가 하나 있거든요. 뵙도록 하겠습니다.
That's right. I remembered for this. I thought it was the other members used as imagery. That is not the case. Oh, they may show the masking effect, maybe, of the mirror. That would make me very excited because I had like 3 predictions on how they made that.
첫 뉴스 마지막 네. 피곤해가지고
자 보면 첫날 뉴스 촬영 첫날에 오늘 마지막 이제 스팟에서 저희가 촬영하고 또 이렇게 찍어봤는데 민기는 어땠어요?
굉장히 윤호 씨의 그 앞 그루브가 섹시해가지고 보는 내내
That it just melts the cold for me. What a compliment, you know? You dance so sexy, it melts the cold for me. Thanks for that. Oh man. I wonder if he got, you know how pets get zoomies for when they're really excited? I wonder if that was his equivalence of that for knowing that they're pretty much finished and he gets to go home. Because I feel that way a lot of times depending on what I'm doing that day. That camera, okay. Really nice. Look how happy they are. And they're probably so cold. I'm cold right now and I'm in my own house, so... It's on a field of reeds. Just a field? Oh, that's right, they're not in a building. Is this the same building as what they shot when they were outside? I'm wondering. Here's the thing, that sounded like a punny dad joke, and regardless, I love the intention of the grammatical effort that is made in dad jokes. That's why I laugh at them, because they're so witty. They're just funny.
포인트는 뭐냐면 민기 씨가 조금 앞장서서 뛰었으면 좋겠어요. 민기가 앞장서고 그 뒤에 윤호 계속 뛰어가는 거예요.
아, 네.
How many times do they have to run? At least they got to warm them up, though.
쓸쓸한 표정.
네네네네.
갈대밭이랑 너무 잘 어울려가지고.
시간 자유롭게 주셔도 됩니다.
알겠습니다.
지금 쓸쓸해가지고 쓸쓸하게 변할 수 있을 것 같아. 바로 레즈길 이렇게 길.
자, 다음 로켓 넘어갈게요.
You know what? I can talk about the dance a little bit. So for two things, because I didn't really get to talk about the dance as much in the video, but I'm glad we're talking about it here because I think I want to add this. I actually really like the fact that the dance is more laid back and it is pretty ambidextrous. So when I use the term ambidextrous and groove, they're doing grooves, or they're doing movements that represent both sides. It shows their fluency in that, and it does make it even, and it creates balance sometimes. And it's a very nice chill, and it also feels more obtainable to the general public. It really does. Whenever you see somebody do like a right and a left versus a right and then they syncopate it, doing it on one side but adding more complexity doesn't make it feel like it's as practical to physically replicate. But when you do something on both sides, it feels like it's super doable because it does. I mean, for me, I grew up in like a drill format where like you can drill things, and the importance of doing things on both sides because it helps you be more balanced physically, because you don't want to be just stretching one side and not the other. So there's a natural universal understanding of how balance works for the body. So I would assume that a lot of times in media, and we have a natural cadence to want to see symmetry, we like seeing balance of movement represented as well. If we don't have symmetry, or we don't have a transition taking place that creates and furthers the balance. Now, remember, I'm always growing and learning, so there could be a way better refined version of what I said, or something that kind of goes into more detail, and that's fine. I'm a human. But I really do like seeing, for it, as cold as it is, I think was my main point in this, is that I really like this groove that they're doing, da-da-da-da, and allowing him to be a feature at the top. Of course, he's a feature, and you can tell based on his outfit, but having them low, and then having them up nice and high. So it feels buildable, and it builds up the course a little bit more by doing that. And they drop back down. I actually really like that. It just feels, it feels like they're the physical representation of how he feels on the inside, almost. You know, where it's like you build up your energy and then you've run out of energy and you have to regain it. It's just, it gives that energy. Do I know the choreographic intention? Not necessarily, but do I feel that they understand the tone? Because when you notice with Yoonho's part, Yoonho doesn't carry that type of baggage the way Mingi does, and so his choreography, God, I'm so glad I waited till the making film to actually talk about it, because I feel like I understand it a lot more. Choreographically, regardless of their intention, here's how it appears, because I know with Yoonho, he has more of a, not gregarious, but like I would say if you have gregarious versus neurotic, so like neurotic's more negative in emotion, and then gregarious is more positive in emotion. Yoonho gives off gregarious, Mingi gives off neurotic, which is why it's complementary. For me, I have gregarious people in my life, and I think it's very helpful for somebody who really tailors on a more neurotic scale. But also part of me can get upset with gregarious people because I'm like, why are you so happy all the time? I really can come across that way. It just depends on the day. I'm a human. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of the theme for all of this. We're human. Youth is a dumpster fire. If you hadn't seen me talk about that, I still think that's one of the funniest things I think I said in that video. So my apologies. It had nothing to do with lore. It had everything to do with the house on fire. But notice that with Yoonho's movement, it's more open. And it's similar in that kind of ambidextrous kind of groove drill representation, but notice that they're taking bigger range within their upper body in comparison to diving it down a little bit deeper. Was that intentional? I don't know. I wasn't there when they made it, but I really like it because it does feel like there's like a double meaning behind it. You know what I mean? Like it feels very full. There's more transitions. They do dive down, but notice they don't stay there and groove out. I think if that makes sense. Whenever it's Yoonho, based on what we just saw right there, I may have to go back on my own time and kind of look. Now my question is, when they dance together, yeah, it does give off that sense.
음악이 불탑니다. 좀 이따 제 마음처럼.
Right.
제가 생각하는 ATEEZ를 향한 마음처럼 세게 불타요.
Oh, so he's talking about, oh, I'm sorry guys, I just called his love for you a dumpster fire. My apologies. He's setting the house on fire because his heart burns for the fans. So I'm sorry for calling it that. if he didn't say that, we would all safely assume that, you know, youth can just be a hot mess express, and they just visually represented it. But we can also say that this is their affectionate love for you as well. Going on the roof before it's on fire. Yes. Check for safety. You always got, it's always nice to have somebody hold that ladder as you climb up. Oh, I really like the lighting choice here. It does give a sunset vibe, but it is a pretty cloudy day if you think about it. Now, cloudy days are great days. Now, of course, here's the thing, I haven't heard of a videographer or photographer that has said otherwise, and I've spoken with many of them, and as a videographer myself, more small scale, which I'm totally okay with, I feel that not a single one has said that they prefer sunny days over cloudy. but it's because of what I said. I think it's easier to kind of figure out what kind of lighting you want to do, and it's easier to edit too. Like in the software, like you can raise, as long as you're able to get clarity of some kind. Like when it's really dark, you have to figure things out. Like does that kind of make sense what I'm saying? So like notice that they were adding an artificial light to really help. It does give the appearance of it's kind of dusk or like sun is setting vibes, and I really like it. And then they didn't really have to change too much, which is an A+ for me. Natural lighting sometimes can be your best friend. And when it's cold in the wintertime, you can have some really cool shots. I love the fact that they're able to have, you know, be able to monitor it for themselves and not just have to wait. Working on the teamwork until the end. Looks like they started the fire. They didn't set the whole thing on fire. They contained it to the porch. Because I think it is a bit, not time sensitive. Well, it kind of is. Because there's a chance that fire is going to get a little bit bigger. This is really cool. And the movement looks more full, and it's nice to see them move together. I like the movement. It built very well. The fullness, branching it out with the body rolls. I'm definitely a fan of it for sure. You can't lose that. Good job, BB tripping. They're very happy. I think they only have to get maybe a couple more shots. What kind of dance did he make? And you know what's really interesting too? Is if you remember from Matt's, they were playing like trot music. They weren't playing their music. And I thought that was funny. I still like the bridge build-up a lot. It's probably one of my favorite bridge build-ups they have in their entire discography. It's really enjoyable.
Drop that, pop that, skirt that, you know?
You know. Ooh, the suit scene. This one. Oh, all they have to do is be in a suit and turn around and stand there and mouth words. That's great. The masking's cool. It also makes sense why they got it from more of an aerial shot, because you notice if you get it from here, you're gonna catch yourself, or you have to be really strategic in how you work it. You guys did a great job. I agree. For the Twin Towers chemistry. It's because they're both the tallest members of the group. I know that. So it looks like based on his hair, I think it was his hair that was a part of the mirror shot that was masked. I still think they had one, they were able to mask the panels individually, and then they masked whoever was there, because they did like an ombre mask. I think that's what the case was, based on how it was blurred. So they just needed Junho to stand there to get his mirror panel shot for the masking. That's still really cool. I always love masking shots like that where you can put multiple people in multiple places.
자, 액션!
I get it.
보다 잘 나오고 있으니까
It does look really good.
나올게요. 이거 좋다.
얼굴은 이건 잘 나온 것 같아요.
Oh, he doesn't punch the screen. We didn't see him punch it. That's okay. We see it in the music video. This was cool.
뉴스 뮤직비디오 현장이 끝났는데요. 네, 고생하셨다고 얘기하고 싶었고 사실 저희가 저 제작부터 의상부터 뭔가 뮤비 연출팀까지 처음부터 한 개 한 개 하는 과정을 사실 처음 느껴봤는데 굉장히 재밌었고 내년에 저 손민기가 좀 더 기대되는.
We're excited for Mingi for 2024, for sure.
이 노래 다.
I bet this was important for him too, to kind of encapsulate his time and to make it, you know, I think it was important that he did this. I truly believe so. As an individual who also has made pieces, like there's been a couple choreographies that I've made for just me that I needed to make because they helped. It was a form of coping. Does that make sense? And I was able to perform them where they needed to be performed for the same reason. It was to help me not grieve, but process. That's the beauty of art, is that art a lot of times can be kind of a middleman to kind of help promote you towards processing in a different way. And for me, and that's the beauty of what God has allowed me to steward, and that's something that I have to keep reminding myself, that this is not just my, what's the word? I'm not here just for me. Does that make sense? Like if by watching these and by applying myself to them or growing in this avenue, I have to remember that at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's not about what I know, what my credentials are, what I'm good at, what my skill set is, or what I think I have to achieve in order for my voice to be heard. God's going to do whatever he wants. He's allowed me this opportunity to steward my ability to analyze. And it's not even my ability, it's something I was gifted and that I enjoy doing and I'm passionate about. And I want to keep growing in so I can be better and more helpful, you know? And so I think like this is a very long-winded, empathetic perspective. I think like I empathize with Mingi with different situations from my own personal life. So I feel for him, I do, and I'm very thankful that he's in a position where he has somebody like Yoonho, just like I have the people in my life that have allowed me to feel safe to process and not alone in that moment either. So I'm very happy to be a part, like to know what I know in comparison to if I had never done a marathon of ATEEZ and I had never looked at their growth. Like I feel like I wouldn't understand it as much, and it makes me appreciate the fact that this exists in the world, because I feel like if Mingi was able to grow and process and be able to see himself as a happier Mingi, then surely there's some ATEEZ out there that may start to feel that way or begin that process themselves because they had somebody that showed them that it was possible, you know? So I think there's a lot of beauty in this video today. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. I always appreciate it, and it truly means a lot. If you want to see more of me reacting to groups like ATEEZ and actually see me take on a dance analysis, I've looked at their music video here, but there hasn't been a dance analysis that I've done from them since I concluded my marathon with them. I do plan on doing more B-sides on Patreon, but every time they have a major comeback, I always release older reactions of my time spent with them, walking through their entire discography in chronological order, with the exception of the B-sides. Those were kind of inserted in after I took care of the main title tracks. So if that's something that interests you, Patreon's a really great way to take a look at those things and get early access. But if you're okay with waiting until they have comebacks, because it does look like they have a lot in store for us, you'll be able to see that in no time. Once again, I'm Jess. Thank you once again for watching, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.